Hello everybody, Cal Banyan here on Cal Banyan's Hypnosis, etc. And you can learn more about me and all our free videos. Get all of our free videos on calbanyan.com, where we have hundreds of videos like this on every topic you can think of in the world of hypnosis and a few other things as well. All right, so exciting. I hope you watched last video. If you didn't watch the last video, I recommend you do it because I got a chance to introduce you to Karen Westh-Nielsen in Denmark, who's doing my co-hosting right now for these few podcasts. And let me tell you what, she's going to give us some insights in this video on, let's see here, myths in Europe about let's say hypnosis students in Europe, and maybe Europe is in general, and Scandinavia, about American hypnosis and modern techniques. So let me introduce you to Karen a little bit here. She is a 5-path certified hypnotist. She's got that advanced training. She's a certified professional hypnosis instructor, able to teach my courses. She produces a daily video, or pretty much daily, on Facebook, which made me say I want her on my program because she does such a great job. And besides, everything she does on her Facebook page, video, I think pretty much is in Danish, and I can't understand her, so now I've got her speaking English, and she's doing a darn good job of it. All right, she's making our second appearance on the show. She came from a background of HR, and then strategic development, quality management, and organization change. She quit all that to go full-time into hypnosis. She had some early frustration with hypnosis, and then she did some research, and she found me and 5-path and 7-path, and she's been going at it full-time, and she's expanding her office as we speak. She specializes in overachievers around the world, result-driven professionals who want to be as successful on the inside as they are on the outside in their profession. She works with clients around the world. A lot of it's done online, just like I do a lot of sessions online, because we want to give people hypnosis that works. How you doing, Karen?
Great, Cal, and thank you for your nice introduction. I would love to introduce you, Cal. Cal Banyan is the creator of 5-path hypnosis that really works, and 7-path self-hypnosis, the first antivirus software program for the human mind. With 5-path, Cal has given every hypnotist and hypnotherapist around the world the opportunity to go far beyond classical and traditional approaches to hypnosis, and becoming not only equipped with the best hypnosis tools available, but also becoming able to work with a wide variety of problems. 5-path is a universal approach to problem solving, and the Banyan Hypnosis Center is really the go-to place if you ever consider becoming a hypnotist and hypnotherapist. If you're already a skilled hypnotist or hypnotherapist, you will be so amazed of how much extra knowledge you will gain becoming a 5-pather. Cal has won a lot of prizes from the National Guild of Hypnotists, and he is continuously contributing to the development of hypnosis. And for us 5-pathers, he is every day there's things to learn about 5-path, and he's always interested in developing the hypnotherapy with and for us. So thank you so much for having me here, Cal.
You're very, very welcome. And let me speak to the audience just for a minute. I want to tell you, isn't it nice to always have these new, fresh faces, new voices, new perspectives on our show? I mean, it started off a long time ago with Celeste Hackett, and you've seen Meredith and Elron, and we've had Penny recently, and of course Erica Flint, and you know, all these different perspectives and voices and new faces. And probably one of the greatest gifts I've received from the profession is a possibility to do this podcast with all these different, really talented, really smart hypnotists so that we can get out there and get the message around the world to really raise the profession as a whole. And when we raise the profession, you know, that raises the whole world, in my humble opinion. All right, you got a topic for us, Karen?
Yes, I do. And actually, I thought about this topic because it's something that I meet in a lot of European hypnotherapists, especially in Denmark and Scandinavia. But I think it's kind of a general thing, and that is myths in the European hypnosis students about American hypnosis courses and techniques.
Awesome. So you see this in students and also in just in the public in general?
Yeah, I think some of these myths are myths that we see in a lot of areas. And I wanted to approach them because they are myths. And working with you, Cal, and becoming a five-pather, I just need to approach these things for other people to find out that they are only myths and they are not based in reality at all.
So, you yourself, years ago, believed these same myths?
Some of them, yes. I actually did. And I must admit that in the beginning, being a five-pather, I rigidly held on to some of the myths, but then I just had to say goodbye to them because I found out they weren't beneficial for anything.
Sometimes those myths, they're just stumbling blocks that hold us up. People spending too much time on doing things that just don't matter, or trying to invent the whole thing all over for themselves when there's already a system like Five-Path there for them.
Yeah, exactly. And that is one of the obstacles, or one of the stumbling blocks that I thought about picking this topic for today. Yeah.
All right, so why don't you begin to run us through your list, and I will add to it whenever I feel like it.
Thank you, Cal. The first myth I want to approach is that language is an obstacle. Speaking here and being on this today with you, Cal, everybody can hear that I'm not speaking English every day. I understand it, and years ago I used my English skills much more than I do today. But still, if you understand English and if you can make yourself comprehensible, if people can understand what you say, I think that's sufficient for you to consider if you want to take training in your country, or if you want to go to Cal. Cal is the expert, and actually I would not be in doubt at all. I would just go ahead and sign up for his courses, because when I started out with you, Cal, the internet connection was not very good. And sometimes I just couldn't hear what you were saying, and I think maybe you couldn't hear what I was saying, but the techniques are just so good today. So language is not an obstacle at all. A lot of European people are very skilled at English, but if you're from Germany or France or Italy, you might have some considerations if your English skills are good enough. But again, if you can understand it and make yourself understood, then that will be fine.
Wow. Hey, you know, one of the things that I think is important, since we're talking about online stuff a little bit, is wow, the technology and the speed of the internet has gotten so much better, and I'm bringing new technology into our classroom, so I expect that we're going to be even better than we were before, as opposed to the old technology that we had to use years and years and years ago. All right, let's see. I know what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the next thing on your list. Do they really think that it's too American? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a very rigid myth. I guess in Denmark we say, no, it's too American. And there's a lot of things that you can mean with that, but normally if it's too American, you think that it's too loud and too grand. And being a very tiny, small country, we put a lot of emphasis and value into being local and small, actually. And I think that it might not be the case for every European country, but I think that some European countries will have the same myth going on, that we might feel kind of tiny compared to the US. And maybe it's kind of a low national self-esteem somehow popping up like that. But it's also that when we think of something being grand and loud, we think that if it's small and tiny and local, then it has a better quality. And actually I have experienced exactly the opposite, taking my training with you, Cal. And that is that because you have the size and you have the magnitude and you have the impact that you have, actually you have the resources you have, and you have the traditions, the American history of hypnosis, then it's a much better quality than the courses that I admittedly have taken here in Europe.
Okay, so I got a question for you. So I'm thinking about the 8-word induction. Would that be considered something that is loud and big, or would that be something that's small?
No, that wouldn't be loud and big. But some of the words that we use when we translate them, they might seem different or strange from our normal language. But language develop, and in the later years the Danish language has also developed, and I think the same goes for Norwegian or Sweden or German. And actually we have so much influence from the English language and American culture, and young people, they don't have the same myth going on about US culture, I think.
You know, so what brought up that idea of the 8-word induction is I'm taking a peek at your list here, and you have techniques or superficial or a PR stunt. Can you tell me, like, I'm thinking about the 8-word induction might seem to be like fancy or, you know, something like that, but maybe I don't understand really what you're going for there.
Yeah, it's kind of when things are loud and grand, and actually it's also, I think that your techniques are very developed, Cal, and very modern and very to the bone. And what I find meeting traditional trained hypnotherapists in Denmark is that it's much more scriptionists. They are much more script based, and they don't have the in-depth understanding of the human mind. So they lean back into old, traditional, and also old-fashioned techniques, actually, because that has been the base of hypnosis here in Denmark. So the 8-word induction demands that you understand what you're doing and understand that you understand how to work with your clients and understand the human mind. And actually that is not always the case, that hypnotherapists and hypnotists have that understanding. For you it's kind of very normal, Cal, because you've been around doing these things and having this knowledge for years and years, but still we kind of lag behind, I guess.
You know, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about on the very first day of class, we kind of set an understanding of how the mind works so that we can understand how hypnosis works with our unique proprietary model of the mind, right?
Yeah.
And now then you've got the European or Scandinavian hypnotists that on one hand, they want to do old classical, worn out outdated, that's my words, I'm not putting words in your mouth, approaches, but on the other hand, they kind of want to come up with their own way, right?
Exactly, yeah. And also, looking into 5-path, it's a universal approach. You haven't left a single thing that you haven't thought about, Cal. From the way that we dress, from the way that we greet our clients, from the way that we pick our office space, from the way where do we put our chair, and all these things are kind of provoking for Danish people sometimes, because they think, oh, I just want to invent it myself, as you say. And there's a tradition that we need to invent everything ourselves. But that will not be a benefit for you as a hypnotherapist, and not a benefit for your client. Also, I will need to add that some years ago, I met up with an instructor, an hypnosis instructor, a very nice lady, and she had been an hypnosis instructor for years and years. And we talked about testing. And I asked her, how do you know that I just needed to ask her, how do you know when your clients are in hypnosis and which depth they have? And she actually didn't know, because she didn't know that the technique is available. And
Right.
yeah, so and that was kind of my purpose, is to say that if we want to invent everything ourselves, we will just lag behind years and years, and we will miss a lot of new and modern techniques that you have developed a lot of, Cal, that will actually be a benefit for our students and our clients, because she had taught hypnosis for years, and for 20 years. And then I asked her, so she just said, I have a feeling of when my client is in hypnosis. And I asked her, what about your students? When will they get this feeling? And she looked at me and she told me, yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, it is. Well, they need to spend 10 years or 12 years to get a feeling and still not be certain if their clients are actually in hypnosis. I think that's a huge problem.
That's right. And, it's funny how some hypnotists, now let me say, I think hypnotists are some of the greatest, most wonderful, caring people in the world. But sometimes people will get a little bit high and mighty in their, I don't know how to say this in a respectful way, high and mighty in their ignorance of, that, well, I just know when someone's hypnotized, or they look hypnotized and stuff like that, when there are very scientific, specific techniques that can be done. And, a lot of what is in 5-path, I have innovated, but a lot of what 5-path is me just really taking the most powerful techniques available to the hypnotist and arranging them in the order that optimizes each of those techniques. And then over the 20 plus years that I've been doing this, refined and help meld them together so that it is in a complete system. But I got a question for you now. Here's the question. How are you overcoming, or what are you doing to help transcend or get beyond these myths?
In my students, I have met these myths consistently. And actually, some of them are myths based on cultural understanding, but some of them are also kind of, because learning something new, changing, will move you out of your comfort zone. And whenever you feel that you're out of your comfort zone, you will try to find an explanation. And it's kind of an easy explanation to say, no, that's too American. It's not me. I have to invent it myself. Or I'm Danish. I'm doing it the Danish way. I had the same kind of feeling inside when being a new five-pather, and I just had to realize it was because I had to move beyond my existent comfort zone, and that can be felt, and that's good. So I decided to become very acquainted and to like this feeling of moving out of my comfort zone. So I think one of the myth about things being too American is also an easy explanation for things we feel when we learn something new, and when we move beyond our existing comfort zone.
You know, I think what you're saying there is so right on. Too many hypnotists, they do what's comfortable and are afraid to learn new stuff. Like the 8-word induction, you know, that will take a hypnotist out of their comfort zone. The 5-path induction, which is a rapid induction, or doing age regression work, all this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
There's another way of saying get out of your comfort zone, and that's called be courageous. You know, go ahead and feel the fear, and then begin the work. And what will happen is over time, you will become convinced of the value of what you're doing.
Exactly. And I also have told my students that things are not always meant to feel nice in the beginning. The feeling of things, if I have to learn a new language, I will feel awkward in the beginning. And one thing that you have told me again and again, Cal, is to drill, practice, practice, practice. And that is the one thing that we need to do to get to know this feeling of newness, and this feeling of newness, transferring that into something comfortable or more comfortable for us. And it's quite funny because my students, when I meet them a year later, they are not even questioning things anymore. It has just been integrated in their way of thinking and doing things.
That's awesome. Now you're talking about your students. I know you're taking a short break away from teaching right now, but I anticipate you're going to come back. But can you tell me a little bit about the hypnosis community, particularly the 5-path community in Denmark? I know when I went there, I think it was last year or in 2019, it was amazing to be around all these very excited Danish and from the surrounding areas also hypnotists.
Yeah, and we are growing in numbers, Cal. And one of the reasons why we're growing in numbers is that when people realize how much they get from their 5-path training, it's a skill set they get, but also something that moves them personally. They are just so excited, and they tell everybody about 5-path. And actually, I guess a lot of people become 5-pathers because they have received 5-path hypnotherapy, or they have heard from people they know how good it is. So I guess we have a lot of 5-pathers in Denmark right now. I don't know the exact number, but in the recent years, it has been growing.
Perfect. Hey, as you're talking about this, I just want to mention to everybody, if you're a 5-pather, or if you're intending to be a 5-pather, there's never a better time, because coming up this year, the first ever symposium for 5-pathers. We get together to do some advanced training and collegial elbow rubbing, so that we can get together and have that. And I believe that's coming up in October. You can always check our website, but that's going to be mainly for 5-pathers. That's what makes this year a really, really good time to step up if you haven't already. And if you're a 5-pather out there, and I know there's a bunch of you, hey, guess what? Make sure you know about the symposium. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be right here in Dallas. All right, we're running out of time, a little bit over. I'm not surprised. Can you kind of wrap it up and make sure everybody has your contact information, Karen?
Yeah. If you want to know more about the 5-path training, and you live in Denmark and you want to chat with me in Danish, then you're always welcome to. Actually, today I spoke with a guy. He was so unhappy that I take a break from teaching, but I referred him to you, Cal. And also there's other people training in 5-path here in Denmark. My website is Westh, W-E-S-T-H hypnose.dk, and you're always welcome to contact me. Call me or send me an email.
Yes, and I want to vouch. Karen is a very knowledgeable, precise hypnotist, and if you want to do services with her, if you're not in Denmark or near where she lives, she's an expert at doing sessions online. Thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you, Cal.
All right. Hey, so I want to see you in class. We've got our next certification course coming up July 13th through the 24th here in Dallas. You can also participate online if you've got a good internet connection. I think that our live online classes are the very best because they are hybrid classes. It's an actual class going on with students in the class, and then the electronics is set up on the front row, so you get like the very best seat in the house. You'll be able to interact with all the other things that are going on. You can have a conversation with the students who are in Dallas, no matter where you are. The challenge is that time zones, right? I mean, if you're like in Australia, the time zone, we're doing it at Texas time, which is Central Time, United States. So, I mean, if you're a night owl, maybe you could do it. We've also got the Week of Power, which is the same as the 10-day certification course, but shortened. It's shortened because only certified hypnotists can go in there, so I don't have to spend so much time on the basics. We cover like one day of the basics, and then we get into all the advanced 5-path, 7-path stuff. Our next one is in Singapore. Listen up, Asia. Singapore, I'm going to be teaching a Week of Power. That's going to be March 23rd or through the 29th. Heck with it. I said attention Singapore. Anybody who would like to go to Singapore and have hypnosis training with me. That class is filling up quickly. There's a limited size. It's true for all my classes. Then back here in Dallas. Now, the Singapore class cannot be taken online because we just don't have the facility there in Singapore where we can do all the electronics and stuff. But back here in Dallas, April 26th to May 2nd, we've got a Week of Power. And again, that's for people who are already certified. It's the same course as the 10-day course, except that we don't spend so much time on the basics. So April 26th to May 2nd. You can always get information about my upcoming courses, like if you watch this video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future, by going to calbanyan.com. All right, that's it. Cal Banyan, signing off.